Basically, in Hong Kong, we estimate the number of startups of about 2,400, which is actually quite a growth compared to 3 years ago. Well, the thing is that Hong Kong ecosystem is actually pretty diverse, which is one of its strengths, because you don't have just one vertical that is taking over all the other one. So you have about like SaaS, that is about maybe logistics, more like B2B, about 15% about the ecosystem. You have Fintech and IoT that are both about 10% of the ecosystem. So that really is the big chunk of it. Fintech startups here are more focusing into B2B and really not retail. So I don't think that payment is actually quite a focus in terms of the startups here. You have in Hong Kong about more than 250 startups in fintech. You have Supercharger, which is one of the fintech accelerator, and you have quite a big community also in Cyberport. And mainly it's more about B2B, because with 7 million inhabitants here anyway, you cannot really focus into retail. So I think it's more about wealth management, robo-advisory, and this type of thing. RegTech is also very big here. I think every city has its challenge. I would also rather talk about the strengths of Hong Kong. I think you can see a challenge because it's a very small population, which is only 7 million. But its strength is that it forces the startups to think international and global from day one. And also, it's really located into the center of Southeast Asia, and you can really try and test your MVP here in Hong Kong in order after to really scale up to the rest of Southeast Asia, which is really big. And for some of the startups, China is also a target. As Hong Kong is a very young startup ecosystem, it definitely needs to grow, and it can learn a lot from Israel, from Europe, from the US, but on the other way, it's also unique, and we shouldn't copy what makes the success of like Silicon Valley or London. So it's really important more to focus on our strengths and what we can develop here in order to be unique, rather than just to copy what happened before. I think one of the key things, and one thing that we really want to develop, is more communication, and to become also like a startup nation. I think what is good about the government is that they support in terms of infrastructure. For example, Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, for example, Cyberport, the great job that Invest Hong Kong is doing, and also with their fintech branch. But it's good to have actually a startup ecosystem that is supported by the government and not led by the government. So it's a good thing, because some startups are meant to die, and they shouldn't survive just because of the government. So basically, about 2 years ago, people were talking a lot about blockchain and robo-advisory, which I think are more common now in terms of startups. Now they're more talking about distributed ledger technology in order to differentiate really blockchain from Bitcoin. It's really getting into a big thing, especially, for example, to solve KYC problems. I think the major trend that we are seeing is really in terms of AI, which is becoming, quite a huge talk. The thing about fintech is that you can really see the change in Hong Kong over the past 6 months. I mean, just with the launch of the Fintech Association this week, you can really see how all the key players are gathering in order to support this whole ecosystem and to make it grow, and how it's all about collaboration between like startups, incumbents, universities, or advisory group, for example. And I think that that's really the key of a successful ecosystem.